Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, my fellow council members and members of the CBAC committee. Today is a special night where we'll get to hear from the members of the CBAC committee, and also we're going to hear a little bit excerpts, or maybe in total, the CBAC report that was prepared on the behalf of the committee. So thank you all for participating. I believe the CBAC plays a vital role in this entire process, ensuring that we get valuable input from, not just people who have been elected, but also individuals in the community who pay taxes, quite frankly. And it's good to get a balanced perspective on this budget, and especially in these times here. We don't want to do this, go at it alone, and we are thankful that all of you have stepped up when your council person requested that you participate in this endeavor. And I know it probably wasn't easy. You had other things to do in this pandemic. Definitely could have been other ways that you spent your time, but to dedicate yourselves to the service of the city in assisting us with this budgetary process, I'd like to give a big thank you to all the CBAC members. So I appreciate that. Also, just a quick word about the process. I mean, it seemed to go pretty well, having the chair be the primary spokesperson for the CBAC committee. We did that for a couple reasons due to this format. When it can get a little overwhelming when you have a whole lot of people on the screen, for one. But the real reason is what we were finding is that many times there weren't that many questions, or the questions would be repetitive, and it would just end up taking up a lot of time, people asking questions, because maybe they couldn't think of a question. We didn't want to put any pressure on any particular CBAC member by going one by one and taking that time and for them to just say no questions. So instead, we funneled it through the CBAC chair, and it seemed to work out. Typically there would be 2 to 4 or 5 questions. I'm sure all of you had questions at different junctures, but in any particular item, there were typically less questions than CBAC members, which means that when the council people asked questions, it probably answered a lot of questions that you might have all had. So we felt that was pretty a good way to streamline and an efficient use of time. But in this forum, we want to give you all an opportunity to talk about your viewpoint of the budget, or where you think we should go. You can perhaps talk about the process, or whether you liked it or didn't like it. This is free reign for the CBAC members to chime in on the budget, most importantly, but anything else surrounding the budget. All right, so I'll just give a moment for our CBAC chair, Charles McCray, to say a word or two if you have anything to say, if it's up to you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all the CBAC members. I know this task is very strenuous. It took a lot of your time, and I appreciate that time that you've given to us and to the city to go over the budget with a fine-tooth comb, and to make sure that we hear you, and that your recommendations will be seriously taken into account as we go further through this process here. But having been a CBAC member myself, I know the task at hand, you guys handled it very well. And in this format and in this time that we're dealing with, that this was a good showing of how you really care about the city and what happens in the city. So I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate everything that you've done. And that comes from myself as well as from the Finance Committee, which is Councilman Barry Good and Councilman Elton Armati.
Thank you. All right. So we will start. I think I want to end with the chair this time, mostly because you probably have a little bit more to say because you have an actual report. So I'll end with Robin, where normally I would go to the chair first, as we did during the hearings. All right. So we'll start with CBAC member Tim O'Connor, if you'd like to. Yeah, you can have 5 minutes to speak regarding the budget.
I think everything that Robin will describe when she reads the report is everything I have to say. You know, the whole process was very easy working with Walter and Stacy and Tuisha and Kenny, and I think we're all in agreement with what the report says. And just to reiterate that I think one of the main things in the budget that needs to be addressed are any expenditures that involve anything to do with public gatherings, which is in the report, need to be addressed and looked at because we're not going to be able to do it. So that's really the most important thing in the budget, are those sorts of things like conventions and the pool and all those things that unfortunately we will not be able to do this summer.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Did you say something? Okay. All right. We'll next go to CBAC member Stacy Welch.
Good evening, everyone. The same here. Working with the team was amazing. Sitting in and actually getting a better idea of how the city budget works. And as well, unfortunately, we did find ourselves in a global pandemic. COVID-19 has changed everyone's spending habits. So I just hope that as you guys adopt this budget, you really consider there are going to be other areas of the city that's going to need more assistance than what may be allocated at this time. So cutting back on things that are not needed and wasting is just going to have to cut all across the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll next go to Kenny Howard. I don't see your.
I'm here. I don't have my camera on. I was in transit. Unfortunately, I had to take care of something personal, so I'm not at home. So I have my camera off, but I'm here.
Just be safe.
Thank you very much. I got my mask. It's right here. So it's right here. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from everybody across the board. I think we made a lot of great recommendations. I know Robin's going to go over everything and talk about it, but one thing we did talk about, like Tim and Stacey mentioned, is cutting back on certain things and also putting a cap on certain items on the budget, which we'll talk about in further. But I think we worked well together. It was a great experience for me. This is my first year doing it. Ashley, thank you for allowing me to do that for the first award. It was truly a pleasure. And I look forward to doing it again next year. So thank you.
Great. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll move to CBAC member Walter Harris.
Good evening, Council, my fellow committee members. I'd just like to echo what everyone else said. First of all, I want to say thank you to Councilman Ellen Armani, Vice President, for allowing me this opportunity. My fellow members of the committee, we had a phenomenal time. We just try to create a win-win situation where we don't lose the quality of services for the city of Plainfield, but at the same time, make sure we run an efficient government. We all know this is a tough time, so, like I said, we just try to create a win-win with the citizens in mind. And, like I said, we have to just have a efficiently run government. And y'all know y'all doing a phenomenal job during this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, now, Madam Chair, You have the floor.
All right, good evening, everyone. And I'd like to thank all the team members of the CBAC. It was wonderful working with you guys. You had a lot of input. It was an enjoyable and enlightening time. First and foremost, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the MAP administration and the Plainfield City Council for including residents in the budget process. It's a great learning experience for everyday citizens to take part in this process and obtain firsthand experience on how our tax dollars are allocated. This was truly a team effort as we started the process with 6 committee members conducting over 5 different meetings via teleconference and Zoom to analyze the budget request for 7 departments with the administration. And I'd like to thank Ron West personally. He was always there to answer questions. He guided us in the direction in our very first meeting and made himself available for all questions that we had. We do appreciate it. While we believe most departments submitted a bare bone budget, we do offer the following suggestions we feel are important and should be considered. The committee as a whole, mostly due to COVID-19, formed opinions on what we believe could be temporary savings to assist with stabilizing the tax rate for 2020. One of the main things we noticed across all departments, there seems to be a consistent theme for certain budget lines, such as stationery, printing, and office supplies, including travel, office business reimbursement, and outside consultants, and overtime. Stationery and office supplies across all departments, they ranged anywhere from $500 to as high as $16,000. Approximately total across our apartments, it came to a little over $161,000 just for stationery and office supplies. We are recommending that there be a cap on each department on the amount of dollars allocated for that particular line item, and that most of the stationery and office supplies be brought through the centralized administrative service line. You probably could add some more dollars to that line item and just buy the bulk of the stationery there and then put a cap on each line item in each particular department. We believe that'll be truly a saving. We're asking that all convention and registrations be reduced by at least 50%. Same with travel and reimbursement. We're also asking that there is a hiring and raise salary freeze for the time being in light of COVID-19. The outside consultant was another big concern. In total, across all departments, that was a little over $887,000 for outside consultants. And we just want to be sure, we feel like there should be an audit to ensure that the services are a benefit to the city or if they even need it. Overtime, we feel as though there needs to be a reduction in overtime. And let me just say, I served on a CBAC in 2017, and I've been following every year since, and it seems like overtime is always a reoccurring subject for the CBAC. It's always a concern. And, particularly in certain departments where, overtime could be close to $1 million. So if there's something that could be done about that to monitor it more closely and maybe put a cap on it in some departments. In the Director of Communication and Technology department, given how new the department is, it would have been ideal to have a little more detailed goals and objectives and strategies that are directly related to the budget. The operation of that department is vital to the city, and it would be great if we could give it more support. We also feel that the city's website should be updated regularly so as the information is current, providing real-time information to the community via the city's website should be a priority of that department. We made some other recommendations for that department. They talked about building a new website from the ground up. We feel as though due to COVID-19 again and the financial aspect of building a new website from the ground up. We feel as though that could be tabled until a later date, unless the cost of building a new website is equal to or less than compensating an outside vendor to update the website on a regular basis. Either way, the current website should be maintained and updated appropriately by current city employees. The department should focus strictly on implementing the live streaming of the city council, the zoning board, and the planning board meetings. In addition, we feel the development and production of certain shows on PCTV could be tabled for the immediate future. The Public Works Department, we feel as though they're doing a great job in keeping we didn't have much snow this year. And as a result of that, we're asking that they cut that particular line item for snow removal supplies by at least 40%. That particular line item is in excess of $92,000, and it's for supplies for snow removal. If they bought it in advance for 2019, we didn't have hardly any snow, so there should be a surplus of supplies in that department, and we ask that they cut that budget line. The Recreation Department, due to the pandemic, the entire budget needs to be reviewed and adjusted accordingly. That includes summer pools that most likely will not be utilized in 2020. Inspection. The inspection department, they want to implement the use of body cameras. We just feel as though, even though it's a minimal fee, I think it was a little over $3,000 to get the body cameras, we just feel as though at this time that they probably need to do a little more research and see what the long-term costs of the body cameras are going to be. It just may be $3,000 to purchase it this year, but going forward, how much is going to be to maintain those body cameras. The fire department, we consider them one of the best in the state of New Jersey, and we fully support their goals. There was suggestion from the CBAC committee to maybe they could develop and use a volunteer fire corps to assist the fire department in non-emergency situations or help with suppression events. For example, the volunteer fire corps can teach fire safety to children, bookkeeping, install smoke detectors, perform home safety checks. We feel this will help mediate with high overtime costs and physical exhaustion. We also suggest that more comp time is utilized in an effort to cut down on the overtime expense in that department. The police department, we salute our men and women in blue and the fine work that they do and the detailed presentation of their 2020 goals and budget requests. We're looking forward to their continued efforts in reducing crime and the implementation of community policing and partnering with community residents. We strongly feel that while school is out, the crossing guard should be furloughed until which time children are physically going to school. We suggest a yearly forensic audit be performed to evaluate what needs to be optimized and streamlined concerning the operating budget costs. For example, can the multiple computer systems be consolidated into one operating system, which will support all operational functions for the police department? And can more comp time be offered in lieu of overtime? Again, which would allow the city to absorb some of the budget shortfall. We also suggest that there's a line item under the director of police. That line item be eliminated. It's for $12,000 for other expense. And the crossing guard again. The entire CBAC felt strongly about the crossing guards being furloughed in light of COVID-19. If school is back in session in September, then it shouldn't be an issue. We didn't even have an issue with the pay increase, but the fact that school has been out since March, that would have been a tremendous savings for that department. The library budget, we're very impressed with the the presentation that the library presented, and we kind of recommend that all departments follow that same format in budget processes going forward. And we do not recommend that any cuts be made to the library department. The library is a vital part of our community, and we strongly support it. I personally do, since I'm in the book business. So we don't want to see any cuts to the library. We also feel as though we should eliminate budgets for all dormant boards. There's a couple of boards in the budget with line items, and there's no one participating on those boards. And it appears that they hadn't been for the last couple of years. So we're suggesting that those line items be eliminated. In the Plainfield Performing Arts Center, due to COVID-19 pandemic, the final line item should be reduced. And that's for program community initiatives. Due to the current pandemic, the program budget should be reduced by at least 50%. And then on the capital improvement fund, due to COVID-19 pandemic, eliminate the $250,000 line item. There's no budget item in previous years, and we just question why it was in for this year and if it could be eliminated. Those are our suggestions. And in closing, 2020 has proven to be a year like no other we've experienced and have yet to realize the total financial impact COVID-19 will have on our budget going forward. With all the financial uncertainties, we appreciate Mayor Matt and the City Council instructing the administration to go back and review their budgets and make sensible cuts that will support a minimal tax increase. Because of the extraordinary circumstances caused by COVID-19, the council had to quickly come up with an alternate plan to conduct the budget hearings. Although not perfect, we must acknowledge the efforts put in the live streaming the hearings with an acceptable format established by council president to ensure all stakeholders were able to participate in the process. The finance department should continue to work on achieving a 97% tax increase rate, even in the wake of COVID-19. They should also utilize all tools available to increase participation in the participation rate in the 2020 census. The CBAC committee is encouraged with the amount of new development going on in the city, and we look forward when such development will begin to offset our tax revenue. To finish, we ask all department heads to review their budget, and we must not disregard our school district and the 26% of the total municipal budget that is allocated to the Plainfield School District. Although the CBAC committee cannot make any recommendations to the school district, we as residents of Plainfield must hold them accountable the same way we are holding our city administrators, mayor, and city council members accountable. It's crucial that we recognize the financial impact our public schools have on our economy and work collectively toward improvement. Thank you for allowing the CBAC to be or to participate in the budget process. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. I did email all of the council persons the CBAC report so that you can have. Director Ressa, you need to say anything, or would you like to? It's up to you.
Well, I would just like to thank and congratulate the committee. Under trying circumstances, I thought they performed excellently, even with all of the virtual meetings. I didn't even mind all the questions that they used to send to me constantly. Part of the process. But I think that they did a good job. They were very insightful with their recommendations, and I think that they will be surprised when all is said and done that we've been listening. And as you indicated, the mayor and the council have asked us to look hard and make some tough decisions, and that's what we're doing. But again, thank you and congratulations for a job well done.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the CBAC report is close to the conclusion of this process. We were certainly looking forward to what you all had to say and how you felt about the budget, because we know that it's going to be at least in part reflective of what the community feels about it. And as government servants, that is what's at the utmost importance, is how does the community feel? Does the community feel like we're going in the right direction? So, I really appreciate you all taking part in this and providing us that necessary feedback. So, now there's more work for the Finance Committee to do in incorporating your suggestions, seeing where it makes sense, and also incorporating the suggestions that I've gotten from the council members in terms of, just expressing what they believe the city should do, because it's correct. This is our budget now, and we bear the responsibility to make sure that it is something that that moves the city forward, but at the same time acknowledges that we are in a global pandemic. Our residents are hurting, and Stacey, you were right when you said everybody's been forced to tighten their belt right now. So we know that the city needs to do what it can. So we have a little bit more work to do. So we will continue that work. And, to my council members, we'll be in touch soon in terms of what we can propose at our next meeting. So that's all I have. Any other questions? All right. So this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, John Boy.
You need to stop.